After UFC Paris, Renato Moicano is not rewarded for his win over Benoit Saint-Denis with any movement and instead stays locked in at number 11 in UFC lightweight rankings. BSD also stays in his spot at number 12. Moicano is obviously not happy with it and goes off on MMA journalists, calling them Macron lovers. He said in a series of tweets that he deserves at least number 6 spot in the rankings and the 4 fighters above him are not worthy of their spots. Dana White, in his post-event interview after the Week 8 of Contender Series, says that Moicano's win with the injury was incredible and that if the doctor checked on Moicano's shoulder rather than Saint-Denis' eye, it could have been a doctor stoppage win for other way. White tells Moicano not to worry about his non-movement in the lightweight rankings following UFC Paris because AI will be here to fix it soon. He says the people who do the rankings currently know nothing about fighting. By the way, it seems Renato Moicano now has converted his attention from Paddy Pimblett to Dan Hooker. He is not convinced with Hooker's rankings in the division and said that Hooker in the top 5 is like a turtle on a tree. Dan Hooker responds to Moicano putting a condition for accepting a fight against him. Hooker says he will accept the fight only if it is a title eliminator, and Moicano did not waste any time accepting the call out for his potential title eliminator fight. Nassourdine Imavov and Brendan Allen, who fought at the co-main event of UFC Paris, also did not move in the rankings, while Allen Perez has twerked her way to number 14 in the official bantamweight rankings update, moving up 1 spot and dropping Chelsea Chandler to number 15. A fun fact: Ronda Rousey holds the current UFC record for 3 consecutive title defenses in the shortest time at 189 days. Alex Pereira has the chance to break that Saturday at UFC 307 with his 3rd title defense in just 175 days. Pereira believes that Dana White's entry in the boxing world would be beneficial for him because now it would be easy for him to compete in the boxing ring. He believes he and many other fighters can go toe-to-toe with high-level boxers. Ortons further favored the boss and says Dana is right, John Jones is the greatest of all time. Still, it was not enough to get a boxing fight as Dana White is not too keen on the idea of Alex Pereira boxing. White said he is not even thinking about that kind of stuff because he hates crossover fights. He wants everybody to stay in their own lane. Dana White also denies the idea Francis Ngannou made more money in boxing than he would have in the UFC. Talking about Magomed Anklaev's title shot, White says Anklaev will be the next for the light heavyweight title shot if he puts on a good performance and wins against Alexander Rakic at UFC 308. Alex Pereira tells Many Men TV that it is up to the UFC that what they do next with him following UFC 307. He suspects it will probably be another title defense against Magomed Ankalaev, where he says it would be a good opportunity to show off his ground game. Ankalaev on Twitter wished Pereira good luck and is now even rooting for Pereira this weekend. Pereira's opponent Khalil Rountree Jr. tells Megan Olivi that he has a secret weapon that he may use against Alex Pereira at UFC 307. Talking about that, White says that a win over Pereira this weekend would be a life-changing for Khalil Rountree Jr. and mentioned earlier in the availability that he is absolutely capable of doing it. When many fighters like Jamal Hill and Kamaru Usman favor Khalil Rountree Jr. for UFC 307 title fight against Alex Pereira, Sean Strickland doesn't believe that Khalil has the right skills to defeat his buddy. Strickland believes Pereira would make easy work of this fight. By the way, Dana White before his post-event interview signed 5 new fighters who won at Week 8 of Contender Series. Torres Finney becomes the first fighter to win 3 fights in Contender Series, while David Martinez with Melissa Martinez becomes the first ever brother-sister duo in the UFC. Merab Dvalishvili was gifted $367,000 from the Georgian government for becoming the UFC champion, and he gave this money to charities to develop the MMA teams and wrestling clubs, etc. in order to raise more UFC champions in Georgia. He also continued trading words with Umar Nurmagomedov on social media when Umar claimed that Merab has already turned down a fight with him twice before. Merab responds that he was offered Umar Nurmagomedov right after he beat Peter Yan with a broken hand, so doctors did not allow him to fight and instead he had surgery. He asks him to show the second contract if he is not a liar. He says that he is now done with this disrespectful liar and lost the respect for him. Umar counters that since prehistoric times, no one cares about the respect of cowards. Despite Merab's lack of interest in the fight, Umar is sure he is next because Merab is out of options. He asks Merab not to insist for March as it would be Ramadan in March 2025. He calls him out for a fight in January, which he thinks is feasible for both of them. By the way, Umar Nurmagomedov was not lying when he said he would take another fight if he had to wait too much for the title shot. He will take on Dantas in a featherweight grappling fight in the main event of ADXC event on October 25. Paige Van Zandt will compete on the October 24 Power Slap event in Abu Dhabi. Welterweight bout between Alessio Zaleski dos Santos vs Nicolas Delby 2 added to UFC Vegas 100 on November 9th. Lightweight bout between Thiago Moises vs Trey Ogden added to UFC's January 11th event. Israel Adesanya says he wants to fight again before the end of this year or early next year at the latest. Johnny Walker has revealed his next fight will be in January, and Marvin Vettori calls out his bitter rival Brendan Allen by calling him a bum and predicting to finish him in 2 rounds. Now some boxing fight announcements. Oscar Collazo will face knockout CP Freshmart in a WBA and WBO minimum world title unification fight on the Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez vs Chris William Smith Riyadh Season Latino Night undercard November 16 in Saudi Arabia. IBF World Flyweight Champion Gabriela Fundora will go up against WBC, WBO and WBA World Flyweight Champion Gabriela Celeste Alanis in a clash for the undisputed status on November 2nd in Las Vegas, Nevada. On the same night in the same city, Floyd Schofield will face Mexico's Rene Tellez Giron in the lightweight clash as the main event on Golden Boy's November 2nd show at Virgin Hotels, Las Vegas. In the super lightweight division, rumors have it that if Isaac Cruz passes on rematching WBA champion Rayo Valenzuela, then Rayo would be defending his title versus number 1 contender Andy Hiraoka on December 24th in Japan. Ryan Garcia reacts to WBC super lightweight champion Devin Haney's lawsuit and states he will prove his innocence. Haney will take 2 losses, one in the courtroom and one in the ring. Haney didn't respond to him, and instead his father Bill Haney called out WBO champion Teofimo Lopez. Lopez had a clash with Terence Crawford at Canelo vs Berlanga, and now Crawford broke silence on that, saying Teo is a disrespectful man, but he doesn't understand. I will beat the F out of him. By the way, Terence Crawford and Sebastian Fundora did not make a deal yet, and the WBO have now officially granted a 10-day extension for Crawford vs Fundora negotiations. Fight was ordered as Fundora has WBC and WBO Super Welterweight World titles, while Crawford has the WBA Super Welterweight World title and the WBO interim belt. A new co-main event for Top Rank's November 8th card will be needed as WBO welterweight champion Brian Norman Jr. vs. Derek Kouwas has been cancelled due to an injury to Norman's left hand. Top Rank plans to reschedule Norman Jr. vs. Kouwas for the first quarter of 2025. And a big change in WBA featherweight rankings happened when Stephen Fulton has now entered at number 1 following his win over Carlos Castro. Nick Ball is the WBA featherweight world champion and is set to defend his title versus Ronnie Rios on this Saturday night. Sunny Edwards vs. Galal Yafai first face-off ahead of the November 30th fight is done. Official poster for UFC Edmonton is released and the official Francis Ngannou vs. Renan Ferreira PPV trailer just dropped, which is worth watching. UFC should take some notes. Link is in the description, so go and watch it. But before that, like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with the fight world. Now I'll see you tomorrow, so till then do whatever you want.